Hi friends, welcome to Red Dead Radio, the Red Dead Redemption podcast. I'm your host Jared Petty, and we're going straight to the brand new October 1st Rockstar trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2 that just dropped. Let's take a closer look at what's going on. If you're listening along, we'll be describing. If you're watching along, well, you can just take a peek with us. First off, at about 20 seconds in here, a couple of things I want to say about this gorgeous shot of a train crossing gorge on a trestle. Beyond the obvious cinematic beauty of it, let's talk about that word cinematic, and in particular, this game's cinematic mode. The transition into this shot is part of a train robbery sequence where we see Arthur running up a train and attacking foes, climbing to the top of the car and moving forward. Now, we could assume that this is a cut scene. However, when I was playing hands-on in the Red Dead Redemption 2 demo, there were many occasions where I had the opportunity to press a button on the controller and suddenly cut into a cinematic camera while retaining control, and I had the ability to dynamically switch back and forth between that. The cinematic camera angle changed for practically every shot and seemed to be optimized for that particular moment. So what we're seeing here that appears to be a cutscene may very well actually be gameplay and somebody taking a dynamic shot like that and recording it. Also, another little detail of this part of the sequence. Everything is alive in Red Dead Redemption. Look in the background, and yes, those birds I suspect are picked up in this shot, not just because it looked pretty, but because they're a part of what's going on in that particular part of the world at that particular time. Red Dead Redemption 2 is positively teeming with life. There's always something alive going on. It's really kind of spectacular to see. Moving forward here a little bit. Next up, just a couple of things about Arthur moving through the snow here. Yes, I understand video games have had footprints in snow for a long time, but a couple of things to observe here. First, the way that he simply seems to burrow through it and is horsed slightly differently. We saw this some in the demo as he's leaving these footprints behind. There's a sense of depth and gravity to everything you go through. Things change at elevation, and it's really kind of amazing to see. What I love here, maybe most of all, is that both Arthur and his horse are leaving their breath as they walk along that detail. Also, the beard. You see he's grown his hair out a long time. One of the things we learned while playing the game was that when you're playing Red Dead Redemption, you can grow hair out, but you can cut it off, but you can't automatically grow hair back. You got to wait for time. So grow a beard like that, it's going to take you a little while, and if you want to keep it like a real majestic beard, like mine, you got to treasure it and hold on to it, because once it's gone, it takes a long time to get back. Cutting ahead to the 44-second mark here, just something that really struck me is this detail off in the top left corner here, the different kind of illumination. Obviously, you see bulbs around in later parts of the shot, but the fact that it's kind of out of focus dynamically with where the camera's moving here. At first, I thought this might be some sort of magnesium flare or detonator, because you can have an explosion off in that direction from what you're going to be able to see from if you freeze the shot a second, you see that this is a kerosene storage area near near an oil refinery of some kind. But it looks like those are actually illuminators on a bulb of some kind. Still, I just love that there's a difference. That subtlety. It's not just here's our universal light bulb asset, and that's that. It's another example of a lot of TLC in the real world. Not everything looks the same, and Red Dead following that same pattern, creating a further illusion. Moving forward here. This sequence we're watching now is part of the train robbery, which we saw in the demo that I got a chance to sit down with. And not a lot to point out here, except that this is a train robbery that goes terribly wrong and leads to a very exciting, interesting, well-done ride down the train sequence that I really enjoyed. But this footage is actually from a part of the game that I've seen before. Right here in the bank, just a little detail. I like the fact that we can see the name of the bank backwards in the window here. Again, no huge secret, but Lenotine. I don't know if that means anything to the game or not. Also taking a look at the weapon, I believe that's Winchester in the guard's hand, or I think what's called a Lancaster, I believe, in the game. Little ornate details along the way, but we'll move past this pretty quickly. Something I do love to talk about and really enjoyed and appreciated seeing from this is here at the 124 mark or so, when we're in the store. Look on the counter there, the little shooter's Bible is your actual shopping apparatus for the gunsmith. That's where you pick out your weapons and customizations. That catalog, you literally flip through, and a lot of the game you're just going to pick things up and work with them, and they have interactions that affect the gameplay very dynamically. That Shooter's Bible, you can just quickly fly through and pick out the next gun or mod that you want to purchase. Or you can sit there and read a great deal of kind of built-in lore about it that's right there in the book. And instead of taking you out of the game to some kind of little file, you're still in the world, still a part of what's going on. It's an object you're picking up and feel like you're a part of, which is really cool. Cutting ahead a little bit, and there's so much in this trailer. We're not going to be able to cover completely all of it in this first video. We'll sit down later in Red Dead Radio and talk through the whole thing. Okay, so Deadeye. Let's talk about a couple of things here that we're seeing in this Deadeye sequence. We now know multiple levels of Deadeye. No surprises there, but one thing that is really cool to see is if you take a look at this highlighting of critical areas of the body and how marvelously specific they are, and it looks like dynamic to the direction you're facing the enemy character model. You notice, of course, the head, it looks like the chest, lungs, some of the vital organs on that side of the body. And, what happens if you are, in fact, shot in the crotch. Apparently, the game does, in fact, take that into account based on this bright red crotch dot. Cutting out here, again, you can see that it's raining and the rain slowed down in the sequence. This is cool. But cutting around here to Arthur shooting, weapon in each hand, dual wielding. You do not carry your entire arsenal around with you everywhere you go in Red Dead Redemption 2 that is stored on your horse. So you have effectively what amounts to a loadout, and here Arthur is wielding the weapons from his loadout together. Other bit, I can't prove this, but I strongly suspect what you're seeing here is not a cutscene, but rather is the cinematic camera that I mentioned, that dynamic on-the-fly one that you can call up, applied during gameplay. That I suspect is what you're seeing there. There's several examples of this in the trailer, but I think this is my favorite one. If you take a look here at this mark around 246 at Arthur's gun belt, and you can see the custom work done on his weapons, ornamental custom work, just stuff that's there to look cool, and you can have your weapons customized that way at the gunsmith with various etching, stuff like that. And again, this gives you a look at the kind of loadout that Arthur's carrying for this particular mission. Cutting ahead, looking at, I love this detail. They talk about, hey, you don't have to bathe. Here's Arthur covered in mud, completely gross. And you watch this guy's like, how offensive an odor. Oh my, so yeah, he's stinky because he hasn't taken his bath. I like that a lot. In this section where we get a lot about the things you can do in the world, at about the 253 mark, looking ahead, you're going to get a peek at Arthur canoeing. It looks lovely in this canyon. You can get a look at the map down there in the left corner. The map size can be changed on the HUD. That's customizable. My favorite part of this are the bugs flying up over the water if you've ever been down in a shadowy area. There's so much light and shadow in this trailer, and I hope it gives you an idea of just how good the game looks moving dynamically and how much thought went into light and shadow and in a world that is mostly outdoor. Which is the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, the illusion and the care that's been taken to this. But also things like, hey, if you're out there in the water, there sure are a lot of bugs. Here at 3 3-minute mark, pardon me. So there's some blackjack. Yep, we got blackjack coming here. Dominoes. I did not expect dominoes. That's exciting. Some 5-finger fillet going on there. Everybody loves that. And I love this, the dancing sequence. Dancing with the Stars, Dancing Under the Stars. And the main thing I want to point out here, beyond the obvious gorgeous sky, this is happening up at the camp. This is one of the game's camps that the gang goes into. But notice that bottom right corner and the flare and leave there. In almost everything you do in Red Dead Redemption 2 is controlled by the left trigger, the L2. And you point at something, someone, L2 it, and you get a contextual menu once you've entered into that, which often dynamically changes based on the responses you get from people or what you're interacting with further. And that face button menu down there, this one there's only a couple of options, but there's always some way to be a part of what's going on. In this case, a little flair for the dancing. Fun fact from Western history. Dancing was a way to pass the time. If you had musical instruments, you could dance, and it gave you something to do. Looking out here, we have the dance hall sequence, and again, that contextual menu that was mentioned before. And just one more detail, and again, I could spend, and probably will spend later this week with a co-host, a very long time talking about the details of this, but I wanted to give you a chance to watch along and talk for a second. When he holds the rifle up, you're going to see this Lancaster, which is the Winchester-esque analog rifle there. And the detail, the etching, when I was playing the game, it impressed me that, the light catches on various parts of your weaponry in this game. And I don't want to be particularly fetishist about the firearms, but the fact is the guns are just so beautifully rendered and detailed and made up of all those individual parts that it's really going to stand out when you see the game how much detail went into that. So those are some kind of secrets of the trailer based on the context of actually having had some hands-on time with some of this. Give you a little feel for what you actually see in here based on my time with it, and there's going to be a lot more. So look forward to Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out later this month. And hey, Red Dead Radio, the Red Dead Redemption podcast, up just about every week with all kinds of guests coming in. Greg Millard, Brandon Jones, to Tina Amini, to many, many other folks sitting down to talk about their experience with the game or hoping to play it, what they can't wait to see at all, etc., the latest news. You can always find that at reddeadradio.com or on Apple, on iTunes, on Android, and of course here on youtube.com/hop, blip, and a jump. And if you like the things that we make, everybody asks, I'm asking because it's how I make my living. I make all kinds of stuff on the internet. Red Dead's just a part of it, and I think it's good stuff. You want to support it? Patreon.com/Jared Petty. There's a link in the description, and I think you'll find the content there well worth your time. All right, friends. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening to Red Dead Radio, and we'll see you next time. Hey, shout out to Patreon producers Tom Bach, Stuart Ferguson, and Jonathan, whose support makes this show possible.